Hello, this is Max Drake. I just want to talk about this app. Not particularly sexy one from the point of view of the other ones that I built in Glide, but the one that I really want to point through here is it's pulling reasonably live data through from an API. Now, what's an API? An API is an application programming interface, which what it means is that it stores data in a way that you can actually go and call it and bring it through and consume it. So it might be this is a bit of an API. It's basically a JSON file, which is a JavaScript object notation that has things in a way that if you're reading through JavaScript, it will actually know the data structure straight away. Now, inside Google Apps, the scripts that it uses is GAS, which is Google App Scripts, which is JSON, JavaScript. So that's great. So that's fantastic. So let's just look at some of the things, first of all, that we're doing through here. Now, I really want to point out this particular article by this man. Fantastic. This is what started me onto this. How to import JSON data into Google Sheets with auto refresh. So what this gentleman does in his article, and he lets you pull down his spreadsheet, and you can then copy it, and then you can actually start using it straight away, is that he pulls this, he then writes his article again, but he's writing it for, it's a blog by DataWrapper. So the DataWrapper are the people who actually do the maps and the charts and things like that, and you can actually go and do that. You can embed their code in that, or you can have a link. So in my Google app, to the top one here, I'm actually just linking directly to his one. So that just does a link, and then there's his data coming through. So bang, straight away for that. I've got a link to the ones that I'm actually building through here. So if I just bang onto that one there, that's coming through with my information. It's a bit garish at this point in time. Not really bothered by that. And I've got this information played through here using the basic table inside GlideApps. So what he does in this is that he imports the JSON information. So the JSON is an open API, and we'll talk about that a bit briefly. He then creates this table inside DataWrapper by pulling that JSON data in, structuring it the way he wants, and then firing it up to a web page so that it can be done. So again, that's the DataWrapper part of it that he's doing. Now, if we just go into a raw bit of a thing, and if I go import, you'll see there's several ways you can import things natively with some native functions inside Google Sheets, which is import XML, import data, import feed, import HTML, import rate. I want to do import data, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto this particular page here. Now, this is a page with some COVID data, and the data is in CSV format. It's daily case reports from the US. Now, what I'm saying is we're just going to use this daily report, and if we go through here and we take that CSV file, I'm going to click on this CSV file here and just show, oh, there's some data. Oh, and it looks in CSV format. Now, I can actually take this here and go, we're going to pull in some data into that one there, so we'll actually just go and put that in there as a URL. Now we're going to go equals import, and we're going to go import data, and we're going to select that cell there. We're going to go there, and it breaks. Why is that? Because if we go back and look at that page where we were getting that information, I'm going to use Control-C, which is basically going in and looking in your console inside your web developer. And here's your console stuff. This is in this is in Firefox. You would have the things. It's showing you the code. So what we're actually looking at, if I just hover over any part of that, is a whole page of data. So I've got all the issue to do with HTML building a page. Now, if I go raw, it shows you just the raw data like that. Now, if I actually just take this, now, I just really want to highlight this. Now, this is only in GitHub. If you look at this, it says https://github. Now, if I hit raw, you see it just adds raw in the middle at the beginning of that. Now, if I take that and go and put it into there, and I've got to put it up the top here because it's going to consume it, and I go into here and I just go backspace, and I do just like it doing that, it will just pull up that data there, bang, straight away. So that's fantastic. We can just use an API link and we can pull in the data. Now, there's a couple of things I want to point out. Here's a proviso. This is a program called Postman. Now this postman allows us to do GET requests. So it's like it's calling the thing. They all do it in slightly different ways, but this is going over and it's saying, go onto this page here and find me some information. So I just want to go and do some stuff. There's a Guardian one here. So if I go and hit this Guardian one here, this is bringing me some JSON data through. If I then bring it in and say, make it look like XML or make it look like HTML, it shows you the data in that way. The other thing that I want to highlight here is your information is not necessarily numbers. It could be about magazines or articles or things like this. Now, if we go into here, it says parameters. So we can actually do within APIs, you can do a call if it gives you a range. Some of them says, okay, then I'll give you a range and I want it to be about a specific thing. And when you put these queries, it adds all of these bits to the end. So you see that search question. So it's going in and interrogating that stuff and putting some stuff on. The other thing that I want you to be aware of is this thing called auth. Now, some things, if I go into Quandl, which goes and looks at share markets, you've got to have an API key. Some of them you've got to have a token for. So it won't let you go and get that data unless you've got the right password. So it's basically being a gatekeeper. I don't think this one's working for me at present. No, I think mine's out of date. I think it's only worked for a certain period of time. I haven't been playing with it for a while. So that's one of the things. And again, the way that you pull the information back in, whether it's JSON, XML, or all these different ways, this is a good program that you can pull down for free to start playing with that. It's quite complicated, so you need to sort of get a bit of a feel for it. But basically, it's taking your string and giving the queries, and then you test and you can see what the response does. Then you can get it in pretty or raw or preview, and there's also a visualize mode, which is quite nice. So we can pull the data in. So here we've actually pulled some data in. So that's quite good. Just in native Google Sheets, we can pull the data in, but it's static until we update. So unless we update that data, that particular one, we are actually pulling in we're pulling in something based on a date. So it's one file and it's got that date. So if we wanted the next day one, we'd actually have to go and put in a different date. So we'd most probably have to write a bit of code in here and say, instead of C2, we'd actually have to say, alter that CSV to say, you know, on that one there, we might need to go in there and actually say, I'm just going to go in and pull the day before. So I might have to write something that concatenates all of this so that it pulls in the correct one, so it'll do it on. Then I actually need to say, redo that date, go and reactivate that again. This is where this article, he does a very elegant thing. And the way that he does that is when you actually download his file, he has this thing at the beginning where he's pulling in this import JSON. Now, import JSON is not a native function inside Google Sheets. And in fact, he's got this from this gentleman here called Brad Jasper, who's got this import JSON, which is a gas file. So what he's actually done, he's got it embedded in his sheet that you can download. So if you actually just go into Tools and go into Script Editor, you end up with this page here. And this page here is just the script file. So what he's then done is that he's made a new script file, and we're just going to call it 1.2. And inside that script file, he's just deleted what's there before, and he's got the import JSON, and then he's brought that in. Now, when he actually goes and runs that, now you actually have to, if you try and run this straight away, I'm going to run trigger at this point in time. If I go and run that trigger, the first time we try and run that, it might not let you do it. You've got to give it approval to allow you to do that and run that file. Once it does that, it's done inside your Google account, then it'll work all the time there. So all he's done is he's gone and cut and paste from here, and then he's used that in the sheet here. So he's got those ones there. I'm just going to delete that because we don't actually want that there. And so he's got that. So he's calling that item there. Now, if we actually look at this one here, you see this at the very end, do not delete A1. So if we're going to delete A1, it's got one number in one cell. That's all it has. and that's on the end of this script here. So if I go and refresh that, enter, in fact, if I just go and blow that data away, del, and if I go save, it's brought it back in again. Now, one of the things, here's another thing I want to give you a certain warning on, is something that I'm a bit confused with at this point in time. If you write a number in Google Sheets, any number, it all goes to the right. If you write text, it turns to the left. So if you write a number which is text 9, it'll go to the left-hand side as well. So that isn't actually acknowledged as a number. That's my understanding of the thing. The weird thing is, if I go equals that plus that, which is supposed to be text, it actually gives me a result that I find very confusing. Oh, actually, I think I might have actually tried to make all of these. I tried to format these as number. So maybe that's why it's doing that. It's got it as automatic anyway. So what I've done is, the first thing that I've done is that I've just gone into there and then just looked at the equivalent cell in this one here and just said is equal to value. So I've actually converted the text value, text in there to a number. So now it all reads as numbers. So now I can actually use them as numbers and do multiplication things. You need to do that if you're going to do graphs and stuff like that. Because I'm actually doing a table, I could have left it as text and stuff, but I suddenly thought, no, I may want to do some other manipulations with that. So let's just do that at this point in time. I've then called in this one here, all I want from that API, and here's another thing I just want to highlight with the GlideApp, is that you're only allowed so many rows of data for your free account. So if your API pulls in 1,000 rows of data, you've got to limit it somehow. You might have to limit it by date or do something like that, because you blow over your free account distance. So just be aware of that one there as well. Anyway, once I've come through here, I want to find only the latest date. I do not want to display the all the dates or go and do that. Now this is going to change over time. So this API is being updated. So because it's being updated, that's what we're after. We're after all the new stuff coming through. So every time the new stuff comes through, we want to make sure we're grabbing the newest stuff. So that makes our table relevant. And the table is just the example of all the way through there. So inside, I've made another sheet. When in doubt, make another sheet here. And inside here, I found a formula that goes through, looks on the other sheet through here, and gets me the last column. So if I delete all of these through to here, I'm just going to delete those. And if I just go back to there, it should be giving me the 20th. Now, if I go into here, and if I just go up to there, and I think if I just go enter, so I might actually have to just go X, and then I might have to just go V, and it, oh bugger, did I put it in the wrong place? V. It'll just refresh everything. There it comes. So hopefully, without doing that, no, it's gone and got confused because I moved all of those things over. Oh no, they look as if they're coming back. There's just a little bit of a confusion through there. I might have to unchange that a few, but notionally that's what we need to do. So it's refreshing the data. Has it refreshed properly? It's come through properly there. Oh no, that's gone back to the 20th, which is fine because that brings us back onto here. So what is actually happening? So we have this sheet with a single cell through here, the do not delete cell, which just has one number in it. Now if we go and look at this trigger auto refresh gas, what it says is that go and get that thing and get me a random number between 1 and 200. Now at the moment that is reading 35. So if we go back and look at the function in here, inside the import JSON, it's saying give me this number. Now, to get this function to run, now I'm not too sure why it's triggering this auto trigger rather than the import JSON file, but inside here we can say, no, maybe it's that, click on that, current project triggers. If we open up the current project triggers, this is something that's just sitting in the background and listening. And inside there, you can make these commands. So I'll just delete that one there. And inside here, we're going to add a trigger. So it says choose which function that you actually want to run. So we want to run the trigger auto refresh, and we want to trigger on time driven. And then he suggests 10 minutes for his one, for updating. For mine, fine, it's an hour. In fact, mine only updates daily, so it's not particularly well. So I'm going to do an hour timer on every hour, or maybe just say every 2 hours, every 4 hours we'll say. And then if I hit save, it will then go through, and every 2 hours or 4 hours or whatever, it will run that random number function. And every time I run that function, that cell will be updated. So if we just go back into here and we just look at that, we can see that's still 35. So if I just go back into there and I run, we're going to select the function, that one there, and we're going to run it. So we're now going to do that. Just going to think about it and do it. Now, if we go into our random function through there, it's changed to 175. Now, because that has changed through there, this has changed through here, so it's gone through and refreshed. So before, I cleaned out another couple and we were reading the 20th. Now, if we go and look at that, we're now still reading the 20th. So that's not right. So that one I need to refresh. So that's interesting. Let me just have a look at all of that. No, it's that one. No. So that one hasn't updated. I knew there was something slightly dodgy with the formula. I've got to go through and check this as to how I'm actually using that. So I'm going to drag that through to the 20. Third. This is something that isn't quite elegant, because if I pull it past the 23rd, you see I'll start getting zeros. What happens there with that one is that reads right, and then that's reading the last one on all of those, which is a 0. So really what I should be saying is whatever that maximum one there is, these ones should be reading whatever that row is. So I haven't quite got that formula quite right, but that's fine. This is the whole thing of debugging. So if I just delete those, it will automatically do it. So if I go back to that one there, it's there. So non-ideally a script, as far as I've got that totally to run. He's got his set up in a better way, and you'll see his formulas on the sheet at that. So what that means is that I now have, if I now refresh that, hopefully this will refresh nicely, I will get the latest updated one, which will be the 23rd of the 4th. So it's going through and doing the thing. Well, no, it's still doing that. So why is that doing that? Because that's now saying the 23rd. You should be updating as per that. You should be doing it. This is it. Isn't it embarrassing when you... Oh, there we are. So, sorry, it has updated then. So that's the process that he's actually got. So I'm using his setup. The only thing that I'm doing over and above that is actually just putting it into a GlideApp. But I've been trying to go from initially just using import XML inside Google Sheets to making maps and bringing in live data and live interactive maps, charts and things like that through Excel and WebScrape. I've then been doing this in total JavaScript and calling it directly from APIs and using template literal things and lots of coding and things which are not there. And when I read this article, I thought, at the end of the day, all I was actually looking forward to doing was a simple thing in a GlideApp to be able to get relevant data and up and timely data inside the app. So I don't think I'd actually been doing any API calls, and I don't think I've been doing too much on the refreshing side of some of the things. So this is why I've just done this particular video. So anyway, I hope that's been of interest to you. The app itself, not that pretty, but it's more, there seems to be quite a lot of interest in my videos of the how-to videos. I've had, I think, over somewhere in the region of 20,000 views of my 39 videos, so I thought I'd better just add this one here in. So thank you very much for watching. I hope it's be of use for you and for building your apps, and if you enjoy the video, can you please give a thumbs up. Thank you very much indeed.